I spent most of my childhood carrying trays. Not toys. Not books. Trays. My earliest memories weren't of bedtime stories or weekend trips. They were of standing in the kitchen while my mother pointed toward the dining room and said, "Hurry up, don't keep them waiting." Your one click can keep these stories alive. Subscribe, because every voice deserves to be heard. Don't miss out on the journey. Subscribe, and let's grow, laugh, and learn together. Met my parents, and later, my younger brother and sister. In our house, there was a strange unspoken rule. My siblings were children. I was something else. If dinner needed to be served, I served it. If the floor needed to be cleaned, I cleaned it. If guests came over, I greeted them politely and made sure their glasses were full. Whenever someone asked why I was always working while the others relaxed, my father would laugh. "He's the responsible one," he'd say, but responsibility wasn't what it felt like. It felt like invisibility. My brother got a new bike when he turned 10. I got a longer list of chores. My sister was praised for helping once a week. I was expected to help every day. At first, I thought it was normal. Kids grow up assuming the world they see is the world everyone lives in. But when I started visiting friends' homes, I noticed something strange. Their parents asked them how school was. Their parents thanked them when they helped. Their parents didn't snap their fingers when they wanted water. Mine did. "Don't just stand there," my father would say. "Be useful." So I learned to move quietly. I learned how to listen for footsteps, to anticipate when someone would call my name. I learned that if something went wrong in the house, it was easier for everyone if I just apologized first. By the time I was 16, I could cook full meals, fix small plumbing problems, and manage the entire house when my parents were out. None of that earned praise. It just meant expectations got higher. My siblings went to parties. I washed dishes. They complained about homework. I stayed up after midnight finishing chores. Sometimes relatives would notice. An aunt once whispered to my mother, "You're working him too hard." My mother smiled politely. "He likes helping." I remember standing in the doorway holding a tray of tea while she said that. I didn't correct her. I never corrected anyone because in our house, silence kept things peaceful. Years passed, I grew taller, stronger, quieter, and the role never changed. Then one day my sister announced she was getting married. The house exploded with activity overnight. Decorations, guest lists, catering plans. My siblings were excited. My parents were proud. And I knew exactly what it meant for me. More work. Make sure the chairs are arranged properly. Check the delivery when the flowers arrive. Don't forget to refill the drinks. During the wedding week, I barely slept, but no one noticed, or maybe they did, and simply assumed it was my place. On the day of the wedding, the venue was filled with people. Music played. Cameras flashed. Guests laughed and congratulated my parents. I stood near the edge of the hall, wearing a plain suit that had clearly been chosen as an afterthought, not standing with the family, standing with the staff. Someone from the catering team even handed me a tray at one point, assuming I worked there. I almost laughed. It would have made things simpler. I moved through the crowd, quietly, making sure everything ran smoothly. My sister looked beautiful. My parents looked proud. And I stayed invisible. Then the bride's father arrived. He was an older man, well-dressed, with the calm presence of someone used to being listened to. He walked through the venue greeting people politely. At one point, he stopped near the refreshment table where I was arranging glasses. He watched me for a moment. Then he frowned slightly. "Young man," he said. I looked up. "Yes, sir." He studied my face carefully, not casually, not the way guests glance at waiters, the way someone studies a memory they're trying to place. Where did you say you work? He asked. I don't. I said quietly. I'm family. His eyebrows lifted. Family? Before I could answer, my father appeared beside us. There you are, he said to me impatiently. Why are the drinks running low? I turned slightly. I was just refilling them. The bride's father looked between us. This is your son? He asked my father. My father shrugged. Something like that. The man's expression changed. Not anger. Recognition. He stepped closer to me. May I ask your name? He said carefully. I told him. The reaction was immediate. His hands actually trembled. For a few seconds, he didn't speak. Then he looked straight at my father. You raised him here? He asked slowly. My father seemed confused. Yes, why? The man took a long breath. Then he said something that made the entire room fall silent. That boy should never have been your servant. And suddenly, every quiet year of my life was about to be explained. The music in the hall continued playing, but around us the air had changed. The bride's father was still looking at me like he had just seen something impossible. My father frowned. What are you talking about? The man didn't answer immediately. His eyes moved across my face again, slower this time, as if confirming a memory that refused to stay buried. What did you say your name was? He asked me again. I repeated it. His breath caught slightly. Then he turned back to my father. How old is he? My father looked annoyed by the questions. 24. Why does that matter? The man nodded slowly, doing the math in his head. 24 years. 24 years since the accident. 24 years since the hospital phone call. The man ran a hand over his face, clearly shaken. I don't think you understand what you've done, he said quietly. My father crossed his arms. If this is some kind of joke, it's not the time. It's not a joke. The bride's father looked at me again. Your mother, what was her name? I told him. The reaction was immediate. His shoulders dropped, as if the final piece of a puzzle had just locked into place. Oh my God, he whispered. My father was losing patience. Someone explain what's going on. The man turned toward him, his expression no longer confused. It was angry. 24 years ago, he said slowly, your wife's sister died in a car accident. My father stiffened. It was clearly not a topic he expected to hear at a wedding. Yes, he said cautiously. What about it? She had a son. My father said nothing. Everyone nearby had begun listening. Relatives, guests, even the catering staff had paused. The bride's father continued. The boy was 2 years old. After the accident, there was chaos. Hospital records were a mess. The child was placed temporarily with relatives. My chest tightened. I had heard vague stories about an aunt who died when I was young, but no one ever talked about details. The man pointed toward me. That boy was him. Silence hit the room like a dropped glass. My father laughed once, but it sounded forced. That's impossible. Is it? The man replied. He stepped closer to me. I knew your mother's sister. He said gently, very well. When I saw your face just now, it was like looking at her again. My heart was pounding. None of this made sense. My parents raised me. I said quietly. The man's expression softened. Yes, he said. They did. Then he turned to my father again, but not as their son. My father's jaw tightened. That's ridiculous. The man's voice hardened. No, what's ridiculous is that you took in your wife's nephew after his parents died and turned him into unpaid help for 22 years.